Okay, going over some Q&A for this Q&A Wednesday for some of you guys out there who may be interested. This is kind of a two-part question I think that is asked, but the first part of it is, how did you learn how to speak English? Second part of it is, do you still know how to speak Korean? So, I was almost 6 years old when I came into the country when I was adopted. And I knew zero English when I came here. I spoke Korean, and it was a big learning curve, I know, for myself and also for my parents and family, who during that adjustment time and phase to kind of, I guess the first year was a good game of charades. And that's kind of the best way I could put it, I guess. It was where, without that language to communicate with each other, it was probably a lot of grunting and pointing and trying to figure things out. I know Mom and Dad was given maybe like a sheet of different phrases and stuff that was Korean to English phrases, and they did the best they could to try to help with translations of that. But there really wasn't, Google Translate and those kind of things back then. So you had what you had to work with, which was just literature and translation books and things of that nature. I guess they would have had to take advantage of, but it was trial by fire for me, mostly trying to learn English. I think the best course of action for me was probably they just plopped me in front of the TV, like most kids back in the 80s did. They just put me in front of the good old boob tube, and that's where I picked up most of my English. And I was very prominent with commercials and would act out the commercials. I would say my most favorite TV shows that I really enjoyed was Bugs Bunny and Friends, and that's where I learned most of my English, was watching Looney Tunes. And that is kind of what my life consists of, is Looney Tunes and acting out Looney Tunes and being Looney Tunes. And I think that's what my first words were. What's up, Doc, in English. That's what I've been told. And so, yeah, what's up, Doc? First English words. Go figure. So that's kind of where most of my English was picked up from there. Family, of course, trying to teach me things. And that, and again, northeastern Alabama, that is where I've been gifted with my wonderful voice. From my previous video where I spoke about where I got my wonderful accent from, was from where I learned how to speak it. So that is where I picked it up from, and that is where I learned how to speak English from, was from the good old television set. And do I still speak Korean today? No, I know zero Korean. I had nobody there to keep the language up for me or to continue to teach it to me. I would have spoke it for whatever a 5 to a 6-year-old would have spoke it to, and I lost it. I completely lost it. So subliminally, I may know it still somewhere deep down inside my mind, in my conscience somewhere. I may know it. The year that I spent in Korea when I was stationed there in the military, I thought I could be able to maybe pick up a few things here and there, but you know what? I didn't pick up a darn thing. I was just as lost to it as all the other American fellas there, and I just couldn't pick it up. You see, what I learned was that even when I was in Korea and I was speaking Korean to Korean people, because I was so limited and I could just say hello, which is the traditional annyeonghaseyo, I would say this to Korean people and they would just automatically go into regular conversation, and that was all I had in my verbal repertoire, was annyeonghaseyo. And I would sit there and wait for them to finish what they were telling me in Korean, and I would just look at them and smile and just kind of just give them the old head shake and be like, and then I'd speak English, and then they would look at me funny, and they would give me the frowny face, like, why are you tricking me? Why are you messing with me coming in here speaking Korean, and then you just start speaking English, and then now you don't want to speak Korean anymore? And I found out this to be not a very good conversation starter for people. So I didn't speak much Korean in Korea because of that, because I didn't know if it was making people angry. Then I'd walk in trying to be polite, speaking Korean, and then not follow up with any more Korean, and they get angry. But yeah, they'd give me that frowny face after that first initial polite greeting there, and they'd get upset like, dude, is that all you got? And I'd be like, yep, that's all I got, because I ain't got any more. And so after that, I stopped greeting annyeonghaseyo. I'd just be like, let me just be the traditional stupid American guy. Hello, how are you doing? Okay, so you know that I'm just another goofy American guy, not some faux Korean guy trying to act like I'm one of you, speaking your language and rapping with you and trying to pull a fast one on you. So because of that, I couldn't really get immersed with the people much, because they thought I was a poser, and they didn't like posers. I just couldn't win for losing on that one. It was just a losing battle. So I couldn't greet people in Korean, because that's all I had was just that. I couldn't really establish bonds and relationships with Korean people because of the language barrier. And the ones who did speak pretty decent English, they were probably the calm ones, because I learned Korean, but it just wasn't enough to, it just wasn't enough to really mesh with the Korean people that was there. So it was a failed attempt. I just don't know what more I could have done when I was stationed there to help with that. It was pretty amusing. It's bad when you upset the local people by fooling them, and I did a pretty good job of that, and I fooled a lot of them. And but yeah, walk into a shop, they greet you nicely, and I must have gave them a pretty good Korean annyeonghaseyo, because by golly, they go into a conversation, and I was like, man, that's all I got. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, what do I say next? And it's like, I wish I had more to give you, but I don't. And do I just turn around and walk away, or do I just ignore them? Or were they asking me a question, or were they telling me I had something in my teeth, or were they asking me how the weather was? And it's like, what are they asking me? What are they telling me? What, And I just like, I don't know, but I just have to just give them an American response. So yeah, it was pretty amusing. And the only thing I was good for was, there was some Korean only places that you had to have, I guess, Korean people that was allowed to go into a few places. And so, of course, Korean dude, I'd go there with my American buddies, and as long as I kept my mouth shut, we were good. I would go to places, people would look at me, I'd give them the annyeonghaseyo. That would be all I'd say. I'd keep my mouth shut. They'd see the American guys were with me, and as long as I didn't say nothing else past that, we were good. And that pretty much was the only thing I was good for, was getting to go to some of these Korean only places that I mean, you got to play the game sometimes, But I had a friend of mine that was in high school with me. She wound up joining the Air Force also, and was a Korean language. So she speaks a lot more Korean than I do, and I've had to use her abilities to help translate stuff, the documents and things that I had to. So I'll take pictures of stuff and I'll send it to her and be like, hey, what does this say? What does that say? And she helps me translate some stuff. So shout out to Leslie for helping me out with some of that stuff. But she's about the only person that I know that speaks Korean, and heck of a lot better Korean than I do. So, but yeah, that's about where my Korean is limited when it comes to speaking the language. When I got to Okinawa after Korea, there was a woman at a church who was Korean, and she tried to teach me. I took some courses from her, paid her good money to try to learn how to read it and speak it, and I could pick up a few things here and there. And she was teaching me like I was learning with her kids. She had young kids, and I was learning. I mean, it was like Billy Madison. I was like Adam Sandler and Billy Madison going to school with her kids. Grown man trying to learn how to speak Korean with her little kids, and it just wasn't panning out. I wasn't picking it up at all. It was like Morse code, man. It just wasn't computing in my mind on how all that stuff was supposed to spell stuff. And yeah, I just don't. And I still don't get it. Even at almost 50 years old, or supposed to be 50 years old, I still see it, and I look at it, and it's all gibberish to me. So I've got on some of them babble doohickey things, try to learn stuff, pick up stuff. I can speak more of the language now versus reading it. I can do some conversational things because at our church we got some Korean people there, and they've taught me a few things from my time of being there and being exposed to them. There's a small Korean community here somewhere around our town where we go eat Korean food at, and again, like I said, I am Korean. I'm just not immersed in my culture much. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I'm just still trying to get used to it. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm as old as I am, and I'm still trying to get used to what it's all about, and be comfortable with it. My kids, they're more immersed in it and comfortable with it because they're at that young generation to where they've been exposed to it more at a young age than I was, because again, we lived overseas in the Asian culture for years, and that's what my kids were raised in, being in Japan for as much as we were, and they were immersed in Asian stuff, and so they've had more exposure to that as young kids than I ever did any parts of my life. So they understand it more than I do, and they educate me in it. And I mean, like I said before, I like some of the food, and I like some of the aspects of it. It's not really necessarily my cup of tea and what I go for and stuff, but it's okay. I mean, I'm not opposed to how it is, and I know that's who I am externally, but internally I'm different, and I'm not opposed to that. I mean, that's how I grew up, and that's what makes me who I am. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I speak now some minimal conversational Korean. I probably speak more Japanese and German and more other foreign languages than I do Korean. I speak more Spanish and French than I probably do Korean. I just speak other languages that I've been immersed in and been exposed to more than I do Korean. And that's probably sad, because I know most of you out there thinking, here's a Korean guy who don't speak Korean, but he speaks other languages. And yeah, that's true. I do. And I would learn to get back into it when I have some more time, and maybe I will in the next couple of years get back into it and try to learn it, pick it up more. And I would love to try to take my kids there and to have them to see it and experience it and kind of be involved in it, see it for their own eyes, versus the whole K-pop and Netflix shows and stuff that they see. But again, I think things have changed a lot in the past 20-some years since the last time I was there. I'm sure that, everything has changed since since I was there back in 99 and 2000. So I speak zero Korean. I learned TV, or I learned English from watching TV, and that has made me who I am. So that would answer this week's question and answer. So if you have a question and answer that you would like to find or learn more of me, drop me a comment and I will get to those on the next Wednesday question and answer sessions. So until then, thanks a lot for the questions you do ask, and I will follow up and see you again on the next Wednesday question and answer session. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.